This is Oman Ideki, and today I just want to give a quick intro to SailPoint. SailPoint is an identity and access management solution that has done pretty good over the last, I would say, about 4 years now. It's a company that has built a really strong specialty in identity and access governance. So I guess before I jump into the technology, I would say let's talk about this from the context of what problem does this solution solve? Well, with enterprises, many times they have many applications that they use for their business processes. Whether it's HR applications, customer relationship management, sales, marketing, engineering, research and development, perhaps there's a manufacturing, supply chain, you name it. Most organizations have an income stream and an expense stream, and they use software and applications to grant access to their employees to do their job functions. So SailPoint has this product called IdentityIQ, which basically allows organizations to automatically grant access to their employees or contractors or associates, whatever you want to call them, grant them the right access that they need to their applications to do their jobs. And that's basically what the solution does in a nutshell, and it gives you the ability to certify or perform what we call reviews, access reviews, for the access rights that are granted to the customers. Okay, so that's basically what SailPoint is. It sounds like a very simple problem, but when we dig into it, you will see that this is a very complicated problem because some organizations, look at the Fortune 500 companies, for example, some of them have up to 30 or 40,000 employees, of which they have perhaps 200 hires per week, and maybe they have 50 or 60 people who leave the organization every single week. Imagine getting forms and a request email saying, please give access to this person, and all the emails and all the communication that has to happen just to be able to give somebody their access. And in some cases, before people can start doing their jobs, sometimes it takes close to a week, and people don't have as much time these days to sit and wait while you try to figure out what access somebody should get. So SailPoint, I think the strongest aspect of the solution is their ability to automatically provision access. And basically what that looks like is that once somebody gets hired, right, they get entered into an authoritative source of truth. So typically, you have different tools like the big ERP systems, HR systems, a whole bunch of vendors that provide products. So SailPoint's premise of operation is to build what they call identity cubes. Think of it as an object that represents a person, and each cube represents a real identity, and that identity has applications. And using that logical or data model, the system is able to determine, okay, based on all these employees, what access do we give them, and basically to what level of access do they get based on their job entitlement. So that's basically what SailPoint offers customers, is how do you automatically onboard these employees and how do you give them access. So I'll start with the most important aspect, which is what we call provisioning. So the software basically, it goes out, it reads authoritative source data from the authoritative data source, builds these cubes, and then you can configure it using the lifecycle manager to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's configure it to say when somebody joins the organization, let's kick off a joiner workflow. And what this joiner does is that it will identify, okay, Mr. Peter Parker just joined the organization. He's in this department, and then you can configure it to say, okay, if they're in this department, they get these access rights. If they're in the finance department, they get finance access. If you're in HR, they get HR access. If they're in R&D, engineering, you can break it up by regions, types, models, however it fits your organization. And that way, when they get hired, automatically the system will pick up the data from the feed and automatically provision accordingly. And it seems like it's seamless, but it does all the heavy lifting for you. Same thing with the leaver workflow. Let's say they leave the department or they leave the organization either permanently or temporarily. How do you limit the access so that they don't keep accessing the data? Or let's say they leave the department and they transfer to a different department. How do you model the transfer? So it has tools to be able to allow you to model that business process and manage the access rights accordingly. And then, so that's what the provisioning piece is. And I think, if you ask me personally, I think that's the first, for a goal, let's say you have a 30 to 60 day project, looking in terms of ROI, I think that's the best return on investment as far as what should we implement first. Some other people want to implement the certifications, which is okay. The certifications module basically gives you the ability as a manager to be able to see, okay, who has access to all my applications? And then you can kick off a certification campaign. I kicked off one a few minutes ago. And then you can review, okay, these are all the people that have access to this application. And then you get to say, okay, do they still need access? You can look at the account details. And by the way, this is all test data. It's not real data by any means. So I don't think there's anything you have to be worried about. But you can basically, you do a review and then the manager gets to say, okay, do they still need access or do they not need access? So that's what the certification module is all about. Is the ability to be able to limit access accordingly. A lot of companies in financial services, government regulations, anybody that deals with sensitive data, a lot of laws like GDPR, Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI, HIPAA for healthcare, whereby they actually require that companies who hold all this data have to attest that they actually do these certification campaigns either quarterly or yearly, depending on the particular industry type, at least to make the shareholders and the customers know that, okay, we're doing our due diligence to ensure that we're limiting access accordingly. So that's certifications, and then that's another implementer model that we could introduce to understand what we have and limit access accordingly. And also budget. A lot of people don't see this piece of the solution because another thing that with the certifications, it actually helps you to manage your software licensees, and because basically software access also means capital is allocated. So if your employees only need about 60% of the access, and but the data is telling us that they have 100%, why are we paying for 100% when we're only using 60%? So you can go back and better manage your licensing and your cost and resources. So that's SailPoint in a nutshell. I think the biggest functional aspects from a user standpoint, and there's a lot of technology behind this tool. The whole purpose of this was not really to describe the bells and whistles or to open up the engine, so to speak, and describe all the details, but just to give you a high-level view of, okay, what is this tool? Why should we invest in it? And how can it help us quickly? And I think, again, the two big pillars, number one, provisioning, to be able to grant your employees and team members the access that they need to empower them to do their jobs and function and succeed quickly. That's a provisioning, to grant them the access, to let them to become more innovative, more collaborative with their teams and the rest of your organization, so that the organization can begin to use data as an advantative tool to be able to help them achieve their business objectives. That's provisioning. And also the certifications. The certifications is to provide prudence to the owners, management, financial stakeholders that we're doing our job to limit access. So I think those are the two heavy pillars of IQ or SailPoint. So so that's about it. I'm right at 10 minutes. I don't want to go too much farther. If you want to learn more about IdentityIQ, please, I welcome you to contact me directly. My contact information is oman.ideki@noelgroup.com. And we do implementations of SailPoint cloud solutions. We have our own supply chain risk management solution, Verity, which I did a demo a few months ago. But SailPoint is a tool that I've had the privilege of working with a whole bunch of partners who are in the space to do implementations for clients. Really great piece of software that I think is anybody in the industry should have, either SailPoint or something like it. And some customers actually build their own, but I think customers are better served if they invest in a solution like this. So yeah, contact me, oman.ideki@noelgroup.com, if you want to learn a little bit more about SailPoint, training services, implementation services. There's a lot of good work coming in right now. If I can't work with you directly, I'll be very glad to refer you to one of my partners who actually do this or who have bandwidth. But yeah, that's a wrap up of SailPoint IdentityIQ. Thank you very much for listening to this demo presentation. You have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye-bye now.